I own a company, it's called Prepare LLC, and I currently run entrepreneurship programs for undocumented students at the university level. So I have two programs. The first program is an entrepreneurship bootcamp where I help up to 70 undocumented students launch a business within 5 hours. And then my second program is an incubator where I work with 20 undocumented student teams and I help them launch their business within 8 weeks. All right, so for this week's episode, I want to talk about my first dream idea to launch bootcamp at UC Irvine that actually happened on Saturday.
And
like I said before, they were really easy to understand. It was everyday language, so it was really easy to process. And there was a lot of examples.
Now today I do two programs. So this is an example of the first program that I do where I help up to 67 undocumented students.
Now, one of the things that I want to start doing on a weekly basis is one, I want to start posting more, but two, I want to start sharing this journey of me going from $17,000 in profit to $100,000 in profit with my company. So every single week, I'm going to be sitting down in front of the camera, sharing the lessons that I was able to learn, and hopefully y'all find it helpful. So now some of the key lessons from the bootcamp. Number one, at the beginning, I need to clarify that all these students that were sitting into groups, we're going to be building a company within the next 5 hours. So the way that it worked is every single student was put into a team, and each team had a business idea that they were working on. So I think at the beginning, I didn't clarify that. And it showed because I gave them a quick activity at the beginning and they were kind of confused. So lesson number one is just clarify at the beginning that these students were gonna be building a company within the next few hours. Okay, that's number one. Lesson number two is on the team. So I actually realized that throughout these bootcamps, and if I'm gonna continue doing these in person, I'm gonna need two people, right? So I had one person to actually help me film some behind the scenes, take some photos of the event. So that's one person that I need. And then the second person that I need is a timekeeper and somebody to help me do transitions, walk around with me and answer questions from the teams, right? So, well, one of the things that I'm really grateful for is that the UCI team actually ended up helping me, kind of walk around and timekeep. But I feel like in the future ones where I don't have those students, I should have them be part of my team so they can actually help me time manage and document the journey. So that's lesson number two. All right, lesson number three is on the engagement. So one of the things that I realized is that there wasn't as much engagement as I wanted to when I was asking questions to the audience. One of the good feedback that I received is that to incentivize student engagement, I could be providing prizes or gift cards for people that are able to answer questions, right? So maybe I could provide a Starbucks gift card or a Target gift card or something to engage whenever I ask questions. Lesson number four is how to avoid mistakes. Well, okay, there was a point in the presentation that I actually messed up and I was like, I messed up here and I made that public to everybody. So one of the things that I'm gonna do in the future is just making sure that even though I make a mistake, I kind of play it off, and I don't really point it out because a lot of people don't even know my presentation. So I kind of just have to improvise, right? And then the last lesson that I learned is that I tend to underestimate my own ability, right? Before I did this bootcamp with 70 students, I started thinking of like, what if people don't engage? What if I go over the time? One of the things that I realized is that after, I was way more capable than I initially thought, right? So now, not only do I understand that I can do more of these, and be able to work with 70 students at one time and be able to guide them, but I'm also inspired enough to see what is my capacity on how many of these programs can I do per month, right? I think right now my capacity should be 4 programs a month. So that would be a total of 280 students per month. And that's ultimately my goal. But those were just some of the key lessons. Now, in terms of student feedback on what they thought, I was able to interview 2 students that were part of the bootcamp, and this is what they said.
Before this program, I had a lot of ideas. I just didn't know how to execute them. But after this program, I have a clear structure on the steps that I could take to start my own business. And now I feel a little bit more confident and know like the right resources or how to approach it.
Yeah, very good. So I think I'm actually like thinking in the back of my head, how can I like use the planner, and not just this business aspect, but as well as other courses and stuff. So I think he explained it very well. If anything, I think he even was walking around asking if we had any questions, and I asked him a couple questions, and he clarified my questions like even more than what I had intentionally wanted to know. So he explained it very well.
Like I said before, they were really easy to understand. It was everyday language, so it was really easy to process. And there was a lot of examples from like personal experiences, and it just provided like that reassurance that these examples work and it's proven.
Yeah, so I think the whole sense of like the group aspect of it, I know that's a huge thing in businesses. It takes, it's not just one person, it's a whole corporation. Like, you know, it takes a team to kind of make it work. So we were like jotting down notes, we were brainstorming, like I was jumping from one idea to another. I'm like, oh, I didn't really think about it this way. How can I incorporate like this perspective into my own idea, or just overall in life? You know, how can I look at things in a product perspective, not just in that sense of way, and also the feedback that I got as well, and I guess the slides were also. As a visual learner, it kind of helps, you know, seeing it and then also being able to execute it myself. So I think that was a great way, and also how Juan was explaining the concepts. I was able to like go through it in a way where I understood it.
Number two is I still need to get more feedback from the students. You know, obviously those were two students, but I want to hear from, you know, the rest of the students. What was their experience, right? And also from the staff that ended up hiring me for this. I want to learn more about, you know, what it was for them to host something like this, because it was less lecture, it was more interactive. The third thing that came up was that some of these students were feeling anxious, that their business idea wasn't perfect, and making sure that I give these students the reassurance that when you're building a company or building any sort of project, you are going to feel uncomfortable and you are going to feel like you don't know what you're doing, but that's just part of the process. So just reassuring students that this is part of the process, reassuring that, you know, you don't have to have a perfect product to build it. And I'm actually interested to see how many of these students are actually going to build some of these companies, right? Some of the companies that they built were, one was helping street vendors sell online, right? So that was a really interesting one. Another one was like connecting content creators from LA to editors overseas. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to some of these students bringing these ideas to life. Now, in terms of future plans, even though I did one fully in person, I definitely want to do a entrepreneurship bootcamp with another center, a fully virtual one. I want to do a hybrid one. I also want to see how a 2-person bootcamp looks like, where like instead of 5 hours in one day, how would a 2-day event look like? So that's something that I'm working on as we speak. Then the third thing that I want to do is I want to continue to document these programs, but making sure that I provide a media release form for some of these students before I decide to publish it. And, you know, at least for now, for the testimonials, those students were able to sign it and whatnot, but I also don't want to publish something that students didn't give me permission to do. So, you know, that's ultimately another future plan. I think one of the things that I did really well for this one is bringing on a assistant. So I brought an assistant. She helped me film behind the scenes. So shout out to you, Cecilia, if you are watching this video. She did an amazing job. And she also was able to film those testimonials that you saw from these students. So that also worked really well. Now you may be wondering, like, how do you get people to give you a video testimonial? Well, the way that I did it, and this is full transparency, is I invested $50 into Visa gift cards. And I asked 2 students that were interested to come and speak to us and leave a little review, and then they signed a release form, and that just ended up working perfectly. So moving forward, I'm going to continue doing those testimonials whenever I do a workshop, whenever I do these boot camps. One thing that always comes up whenever I do pitch these programs to some of these organizations is, can you show me proof, or how does this look like, right? And I feel like being able to document it, having videos behind it, and having video testimonials of actual students will incentivize some of these centers to actually want to work with me. So I'm really excited for that. Similarly, I am working on doing more incubator programs actually within the next few months. So that one is going to come full of learnings and surprises. So I'm really excited for that. And the last thing I'll say is that I feel like this program, the Saturday program, was a great accumulation of everything that I did within the past 3 years with Prepare and where I want to take it, right? So I think this year, even though I am kind of doing like 3-4 products or services, by the end of the year, my goal is to figure out what is the one service that I'm gonna focus on for the upcoming year. And I think I'm always closer, right? And I always have these ideas of like what can be paired up with this, right? So the bootcamp is initially for students to expose them to entrepreneurship and we give them an idea. The incubator is for students that have an idea, and then it ends with a pitch competition, right? So there's two of these programs that I could do. Maybe I can pair them up. Maybe one or the other is gonna be the best for the students. But at the end of the day, I think the beauty about everything is that I'm constantly thinking of ways to make this better, right? I'm like, all right, what would make it better? Shirts could potentially make it better, or maybe having a photo booth for people to take photos, right? So my mind is always thinking, how can I make this better? That concludes the end of this video, right? It was only 70 undocumented students. My goal is to continue doing these. So if y'all know of any dream center in California that is interested in launching an entrepreneurship program for their undocumented students, feel free to email me or visit this website, share this with them, share them this video. And as always, be motivated and stay motivated, baby.